name is James Norton, South Portland, Maine. I've been building ship models for about a decade. I started when I inherited my father's ship modeling tools and supplies after his death. He was a wonderful ship modeler, and I thought I'd, in his honor and in his memory, take up the hobby myself. The ship models I choose to make are based on a decision I made when I first started, which was to build models of small open boats that have made historic voyages. And that allows me to use a modeling scale that is appropriate for my skills at the time, which was a novice shipbuilder. So these were models that would end up being 12, 14 inches long, which was a manageable size for me, without a lot of fine detail, but just enough detail to make it look realistic. Well, the models I have in the show are two models that fit the basic category that I described. One of the models I have in the show is of the Bounty's launch, which was the first model I built after I got my father's tools and supplies, because that voyage that Lieutenant Bligh did with the 18 loyalists that were set adrift with him after the mutiny on the Bounty was a remarkable voyage of 3,500 miles across the South Pacific in a small open boat designed for maybe a dozen people, and there were 18 or 19 people in that boat. And I thought that was a perfect first choice. So that was easy to choose that one. I've done several others since then. The second model I have in the show today was a model I've built because I've finished it, for a longtime friend of mine. It's a model of a Cornish lugger, which is a fishing vessel which sailed from Cornwall, England to Melbourne, Australia in the mid-1800s. And this boat was a 33-foot boat, a little bit bigger than the Bounty launch, which was 23 feet. And it was a fishing boat that had rarely been out of sight of land. And these people the captain and his crew of 6 decided to sail it to Australia. I've found that I have the most success as a modeler when I have a person or a place in mind for the model to go. Rather than just creating a model and putting it on a shelf in my home, I like to have a future home for it where people would appreciate the model. For example, the current model I'm building it for a friend whose distant relative was the captain of the British lugger that sailed to Australia. And so I get motivation and satisfaction from doing a model like that for somebody I know. I know that it's part of this family tradition, and that I'll be able to think of the model being seen by many people in the family. It'll call up memories for the family and so on. My Pitcairn Island longboat model is now in a museum in California that's devoted to Pitcairn Island and the Bounty saga. The Irish Carrack is in the home of an author who wrote a book about St. Brendan, a fictionalized account of his voyages. So he has the Brendan. So for me, it's if I have a future home, and especially connected with a person, it makes modeling much more pleasurable for me. The James Caird, which Ernest Shackleton used to sail from Elephant Island, where he left most of the crew of the Endurance, the Endurance had been shipwrecked in the ice, and he sailed 800 miles across the South Atlantic to South Georgia Island in a 22-foot lifeboat, essentially, from the Endurance itself. So that's another historic voyage. So that's how I've been choosing my models. But a friend of mine recently sent an article about a boat actually, that was uncovered on the banks of a river in England. It's called the Ferriby boat now. It dates from 2500 BC. It's one step up from a dugout canoe in that it's made of one long It's a long boat, 50 feet long, made of maybe 3 planks on each side, sewn together with bark and caulked with moss. And this is a project that would require carving mostly, because it would mimic the construction of this vessel. I'd have to carve the planks. They were fit together with notches. There were other strips of wood to cover the seams that were sewn together. It's a remarkable boat that's sort of the beginning of planking technology at the time, which was almost 4,000 years ago now. It was well preserved in river mud, so probably 2/3 of the boat is preserved and available for view online. And I've uncovered plans for the boat as well. So I think that would be both a carving project, which I like to do, and a ship modeling project together.